Hi, I'm Daniel Long, and today we're going to be playing Uro Ramp Turns. If you'd like to hear today's deck tech as a rap song, check out the video link in the description down below. So this deck is built around the ramp effects of Growth Spiral, which is a 2-mana draw a card, and you can put a land from your hand onto the battlefield, and Uro Titan of Nature's Wrath. So this is 3 mana for the same effect, plus you gain 3 life. And you can also escape Uro from the graveyard for 4 mana by exiling 5 other cards from your graveyard. Then you get that same effect, the draw a card, gain 3, and put a land from your hand on the battlefield, and you get that effect every time Uro attacks. So Uro is kind of an insane card. Then we use that ramp to cast our extra turn effects in Time Warp, which is a nice clean 5 mana extra turn, and Walk the Aeons. Same effect at 6 mana, but you can also optionally buy it back, meaning it'll go back into your hand instead of the graveyard as it resolves. And the buyback cost is sacrificing 3 islands. So that's kind of a steep cost, sacrificing 3 of your lands, but we'll get to why that's so cool in just a little bit. We also have Exhaustion as a pseudo 6th extra turn spell. It's just 3 mana, creatures and lands your opponent control don't untap. So substantially worse than actually taking an extra turn, but it can effectively be an extra turn in a pinch. It's also good because it just costs so much less mana than Time Warp or Walk the Aeons. So to really make use of our extra turns, we have 12 value permanents. Basically, these are mostly planeswalkers and also Uro, that when you're taking extra turns will get you tons and tons of value during those turns. So Wrenn and Six is one of the best value permanents in the deck. It's a 2-mana planeswalker that starts at 3 loyalty and then pluses up to 4, so notably outside of Lightning Bolt range, which is pretty insane. Her +1 returns a land card from your graveyard to your hand, which is really, really good with fetch lands, because these naturally just go to the graveyard, and then you can keep fetching out a whole bunch of other lands from the deck. Her -1 pings anything, and her -7 basically says you win the game. It gives instants and sorceries in your graveyard retrace, meaning you can discard a land card to cast them again. So when your Time Warps have retrace, that's pretty good. In fact, it's deterministic if you have a Wrenn and Six on board after that. You can +1 Wrenn and Six to get a land and then just discard it to cast the Time Warp. And you do that drawing your whole deck and eventually killing the opponent with basically anything. Uro, which I already talked about, is just a kind of insane card. Gaining 3 life multiple times off one card acts as a great buffer against aggressive decks, which are fairly common in Modern. And then the 6/6 body plus drawing cards just ends the game real fast. Chandra, Torch of Defiance, an excellent 4-mana planeswalker. She has 2 different +1s. The first one exiles the top card of your library, then you can cast it, and if you don't, she deals 2 damage to your opponent. This is mostly useful with Mystic Sanctuary, so you can stack the top of your deck and know exactly what you're going to exile with it, but it can also be useful just when you need to dig. Her other +1 adds 2 red mana, so this is most useful when you have 5 mana, then you can go Chandra, use her plus to add mana, and then use a blue plus the 2 red and cast Exhaustion. That greatly increases the chances that Chandra will survive, and you can keep getting value off of your Time Warps. Her -3 deals 4 damage to a creature, and her -7 basically says you win the game. Then we have good old Jace the Mind Sculptor, probably the best 4-mana planeswalker in the format. His +2 is Scry or Fate Seal, his 0 is Brainstorm, his -1 is Unsummon, and his -12 basically says you win the game. Then for interaction, we have 3 Lightning Bolts, which are really good at killing the little creatures in the format, which there are a lot of, especially from decks like the Red Prowess deck. 2 Force of Negation, which is great for when you tap out and you can protect your planeswalkers, for example, and Cryptic Command, which is just a very nice and versatile card. Then to round it all out, we also have 4 Serum Visions to smooth out our draws. So the mana base is pretty interesting for this deck. We have 28 lands, which is kind of an insane number, especially when you have like Wrenn and Six to recur your lands to just keep getting lands out of the graveyard. But one of the reasons we have so many lands is because Growth Spiral and Uro both encourage you to have additional lands in hand so you can, just put them onto the battlefield. We have 11 fetches. All of them are blue, which is important because they need to be able to fetch Mystic Sanctuary. And we're also maxing out on the full 4 Misty Rainforest and Scalding Tarn because we have 2 Snow Forests and a Snow Mountain in the deck, and we want to be able to fetch those with the greatest frequency. We have 14 fetchable lands, 2 Ketria Triome, which is pretty great at mana fixing, 1 Breeding Pool, 2 Steam Vents, 2 Snow Forests, 2 Snow Islands, 1 Snow Mountain, and 4 Mystic Sanctuary. So Mystic Sanctuary is probably the most interesting land here. So it is an island. It enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 3 or more other islands, and when it enters the battlefield untapped, you can put an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard on top of your library. So this is really, really good when the card that you're putting back is a Time Warp or the Walk the Aeons, and then you get to keep getting value. And the loop here is with Wrenn and Six, plus a fetch land, plus a Time Warp or a Walk the Aeons, you get to cast your Time Warp, use your fetch land, grab a Mystic Sanctuary, put the Time Warp back on top, and then use Wrenn and Six, +1, get the fetch land back, and do that all over again. Usually this is good enough to ultimate Wrenn and Six, and from there it's usually good enough to win the game. Walk the Aeons buyback. So the buyback is sacrifice 3 islands, meaning if you pay the buyback cost in addition to its mana cost, then Walk the Aeons will go to your hand as it resolves instead of going to the graveyard. So if you sack 3 Mystic Sanctuaries, and these are islands, so you can sacrifice them to Walk the Aeons, you can then pick those Mystic Sanctuaries back up with Wrenn and Six, and then, play them, put maybe a Time Warp on top. Maybe you just play the Walk the Aeons again, so you can put that on top. But it basically lets you ultimate Wrenn and Six, because you just keep casting Walk the Aeons, playing your Mystic Sanctuaries, and just doing this sweet loop literally forever if you wanted to. We also have a Gemstone Caverns, which is just really good when you need to get lucky. Because we have so many lands in the deck, it's often fine to just have a colorless land sometimes. But those times when you get to put a luck counter on Gemstone Caverns, you basically go first, even though you're going second. And then finally, we have 2 Lonely Sandbar, which is a great combination with Wrenn and Six. It basically turns Wrenn and Six +1 into just draw a card, which is completely insane on a 2-mana Planeswalker. This is comparable to Jace's 0, and Jace comes in at twice as much mana as Wrenn and Six. So yes, it does cost a mana to cycle the land after plussing Wrenn and Six to get it back, but still, a 2-mana Planeswalker that draws a card with her plus, insane. Over in the sideboard, we have a bunch of removal spells, 1 Lightning Bolt, 1 Abrade, 2 Bonecrusher Giant, and 2 Anger of the Gods, and then a bunch of miscellaneous spells. 1 Veil of Summer for Thoughtseize decks and Counterspell decks, 2 Weather the Storm for red decks, the Prowess decks, and burn decks, 3 Aether Gusts, again for red decks. This is also great against Gruul midrange, 1 Force of Negation for those spell-based decks, and 2 Ashiok Dreamrender, either for graveyard decks or Primeval Titan decks that really like to search their library. If you like these videos and you'd like to support me, you can use the TCG player link in the description down below to order the cards you're missing. Alright, so we're going to be jumping into a modern preliminary. So the preliminaries are basically like leagues. It's 5 matches of Swiss, so you just get to play the 5 matches. But the entry fee is 3 times higher, and the prizes are better, which means the competition is also probably going to be 3 times more difficult. Alright, I'll see you for the first match. Okay, here we are for match 1. This hand is certainly not amazing. If this was an untapped blue source, then I would be pretty inclined to keep. We're going second, which makes this a little bit rough to go turn 1, Triome, turn 2, Serum Visions, turn 3, who knows? We can't even cast both Serum Visions with what we have in hand. Don't know what the opponent's on. I think I'm gonna keep it, but yeah, this hand is not good. Misty Rainforest from the opponent. All right, and we draw a Lightning Bolt. So we'll play the Triome, and then next turn probably Serum Visions, depending on if the opponent plays something we want to bolt. But we'd really like to find, another blue source to be casting the Serum Visions. Okay, they shock themselves on a Breeding Pool and cast Opt. So this is looking like it might be a Wilderness Reclamation deck. Opponent also has a Expedition Breeding Pool, and also a shiny Snow Island, and a shiny Misty. Not Expedition, though. Oh man, Wrenn and Six would be really good if we had any fetch lands. Because we don't, I think I'm just going to Serum Visions and try to put a fetch land on top. Man, this is rough. We could really use a fetch land. So I'm not happy about this, but I think I'm going to bottom the Gemstone Caverns and then top the Serum Visions and play the Lonely Sandbar. the next turn we can go Serum Visions, drawing the card under Serum Visions, and then if we get a fetch land as the card under Serum Visions, then we'll be able to fetch and cast Wrenn and Six. Otherwise, we'll just cast the other Serum Visions and figure it out from there. Yeah, not happy about this. Maybe I should have just mulliganed. Here's an Ice Fang Coatl from the opponent. All right, and Snow Plains. And a Stoneforge Mystic. That's rough. Sword of Fire and Ice. This is not great. Well, I think we start by going Serum Visions off of Lonely Sandbar, see what we find. So we only get to kill one thing. So we can go Wrenn and Six minus on Ice Fang Coatl, and then even if the opponent puts in the Sword of Fire and Ice, it'll cost 2 to equip, so they won't be able to attack with the Stoneforge Mystic at least. Yeah, I guess that's fine, and then I guess we don't really want either of these cards. All right, we just need the opponent to not have anything meaningful on that 1 mana, or I guess also not have a Force of Negation, which would be pretty annoying. All right, cool. All right, there's a 4th land from the opponent. It would be a little bit annoying if they put the sword into play and then equip it to Stoneforge, because it means it'll have protection from Lightning Bolt from Chandra and from Jace. Okay, they are choosing to leave mana open instead, which is entirely reasonable. We have 2 bolts, which is kind of cool. So I think the play here is we're probably going to end up bolting the Stoneforge Mystic. So I think I want to fetch an untapped Steam Vents, the reason being we might get remanded, and then plus the Wrenn and Six on the Misty, and then cast Serum Visions. Yeah, that sounds good to me. And we'll cast the Serum Visions off this, so we have double bolt up. Exhaustion seems fine. You might be able to go Chandra plus Exhaustion if the opponent does something weird if they tap out on their next turn. So now I think I'm just gonna let Stoneforge Mystic activate and see what they put in. Put a stop here. Batter Skull would be annoying. All right, there's Sword. So I think I'm just gonna pass, and I'm gonna make them spend mana on equipping the sword, and with the equip on the stack, then I'm gonna bolt the Stoneforge. All right, so equip is on the stack. Let's zap the Stoneforge in response. All right, they're fetching. Tapping out for Archmage's Charm, countering our Lightning Bolt. So that one's fine. And then zap the Stoneforge again. Okay, so we have 2 options here. We can either go Chandra into Exhaustion, and or we can just Time Warp. The main difference is what happens if the opponent has Force of Negation. Do we want them to force our Chandra or force our Time Warp? I think I would rather have them force Chandra so that we can Mystic Sanctuary the Time Warp. So I think I'm just gonna do that then. All right, so we need red, red. We'll leave a blue open so that we can make mana and then Exhaustion. All right, Chandra's getting forced. Goodbye Supreme Verdict from the opponent's hand. Get rid of this. They have 2 cards in hand now. What is this? There's a Jace. Okay, they've brainstormed. Ooh, Uro. We could theoretically cast an Escape Uro, but that's not very good against a Jace. It's not very good against Jace because Jace can just minus to bounce it, so let's not do that. Instead, I think we're going to cast Time Warp. That way the opponent is basically obligated to interact with it. If it's Force of Negation, they have to get rid of their other card in hand. If it's just a remand, then they're just using their mana. The main reason is the disaster scenario here is they go Ice Fang Kotal off their 2 mana, and then they get sort of Fire and Ice, and then they just kind of go crazy from there. So I think I'm going to just play the fetch land, cast our Time Warp. All right, opponent is opting. I mean, they know the top 2 cards. Is one of them Force of Negation? No, it's not. Okay, so the opponent is on a Bant Stoneforge Mystic deck. One of the tricky things here is that means we want a balance of stuff like removal. Abrade seems great against either swords or Batterskull, but we want a balance of removal for the creatures and, you know, interaction like Veil of Summer for the counter spells. I don't actually think Force of Negation is great here, but I'm not sure about that. So I'm kind of tempted to do something like this. I also don't think that Ashiok is that great here. They might have Uro, which would be one reason to have Ashiok. Ashiok also stops Stoneforge from searching, but Stoneforge comes down on turn 2 before Ashiok, so like that's not a huge deal. Yeah, I think I'm going to trim 1 Force, 1 Time Warp, and I think I'm also going to replace 1 Lightning Bolt with a Bonecrusher Giant, just because sometimes having the 4/3 body is pretty useful. Yeah, I'm really unsure if there's anything else we should change, but I think I'll try it like that. Okay, here we are for game 2. We are going second, but it'll almost be like we're going first with this Gemstone Caverns. So I think I can get rid of Ketria Triome and then use Wrenn and Six and basically just loop this Misty Rainforest over and over. The reason to get rid of Ketria Triome here is we would like to keep the Mystic Sanctuaries. Having access to all 4 is pretty useful, but I think Mystic Sanctuary is generally worse than Triome. And then I think we also want to keep Serum Visions in case, you know, this gets countered or whatever. We want to be able to find gas. So keep this hand, put this on the battlefield, and exile Ketria Triome. I believe the opponent is reading our Gemstone Caverns. All right. Here's a Snow Island. Yeah, and I think there's no reason not to just jam this Wrenn and Six right here and now, so I guess I'll get a breeding pool so that we'll have double green for Uro in case Wrenn and Six gets countered. All right, there's an opt. I think the opponent is probably looking for Force of Negation. They have found a Force of Negation. There goes an Ice Fang Kotal. All right, well, that sucks. So one thing that's a little rough now is we won't be able to play Uro next turn because these Mystic Sanctuaries are coming in tapped. That is, unless we draw an untapped land. Nope. Okay. Guess I'll just use Serum Visions then. See what we can find. Jace is good. Another land is not good. So, or is another land good? That'll let us cast Jace with Veil of Summer backup. I just feel like a random card is probably better. Like a fetch land will also feed Uro. Yeah, I think a random card is probably better than this land. And we'll play the Mystic Sanctuary because next turn we want to either be able to Jace or to Uro with Veil of Summer backup. All right, so given that the opponent just shocked this Hollowed Fountain in, that sounds like an Archmage's Charm to me. So I think what I want to do is just cast Uro and let the opponent counter it if they want to counter it, and then just put our 2 lands into play if they don't. Otherwise, I'm just going to put the Mystic Sanctuary into play, so that next turn we can go Jace with Veil of Summer backup. Aether Gust, huh? I think Uro is good enough to top. Not 100% sure here, but we'll see. All right, another land from the opponent. They've got 3 cards in hand to our 3 plus Uro now. So let's just slam this Jace with Veil of Summer backup, see if this works. We want them to tap out for Cryptic, and then we can use our Cryptic. Huh, they're casting Veil of Summer just as a cantrip, I guess. Okay, let's just draw some cards then. I don't think there's... Yeah, opponent isn't playing like Thoughtseize colors, so just putting land on the bottom is fine, and then anything else is whatever. What does the opponent have? They've got 3 cards in hand. Maybe they're on the like mono Aether Gusts. Well, I think I'll play a land and then see if Wrenn and Six resolves. Okay. And the opponent has given up. I'll see you for the next match. All right, here we are for match number 2. We've won the die roll. One thing that I forgot to mention for these higher level events is that I like to Google my opponent's username and see what they were most recently playing. In this case, it was humans, but this was 2 years ago, so not going to put much stock into that. This hand seems fine. I think we can start with a Shocked Steam Vents into Serum Visions and try to draw Wrenn and Six for turn 2, and if we don't, we've got Uro as the backup plan, so sounds good to me. Opponent has mulled to 6 and 5. Is making it seem a little bit like they're on Tron 4. They're probably on Tron. Either that or some kind of crazy combo deck. All right, the most realistic scenario is that they're on Tron and they kept a hand that has at least 2 Tron lands in it, maybe even 3. So assuming that they are on Tron, Bolt is not what we want and Growth Spiral is A-okay. So we'll do that. There's an Urza's Mine and a Chromatic Sphere. Yeah, so they are reasonably likely to assemble turn 3 Tron. Just if they go Tron land into Sylvan Scrying, then they just have it. So we'll see what we can do. All right, Ancient Stirrings. They've stirred into an Expedition map. All right, and a Forest with the map. Okay, this isn't so bad, because now they can't get Tron until at least turn 4. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get a Breeding Pool here. Reason being we want that Mystic Sanctuary to come in untapped sooner rather than later. I don't think we're going to be cycling the Triome, so might as well just play it now. Ooh, that's pretty good. So if we're willing to skip this Mystic Sanctuary, we can basically just go Mystic Sanctuary into Uro, and then Wrenn and Six. Another option is we can play Exhaustion and then use the Mystic Sanctuary and then Serum Visions. Kind of like that. I kind of like just keeping the opponent exhausted and keeping them off the map for another turn. And then I guess the following turn we can go Wrenn and Six into Exhaustion. So that, I mean, that sounds good to me. So we'll Exhaustion the opponent. Yep, and then let's draw into it. So we don't need another Wrenn and Six. And I think instead of I mean, Jace is fine. Well, the thing that we'd really want is a time warp, but I think having Jace is probably fine, though not amazing. So next turn, I think we're just going to go Wrenn and Six into Exhaustion, and we'll figure it out from there. All right, there's a blast zone from the opponent. All right, so here's Wrenn and Six. Get back Misty. Might as well get a forest. We have enough islands. All right, and then next turn we can put the Mystic Sanctuary on, or we can use the Mystic Sanctuary, put Exhaustion on top, cast Uro, and then draw it. So it seems solid. All right, well, the opponent is able to crack the Expedition map, but because they played a forest, they are still 2 Tron lands away from Tron. We're also just going to keep exhausting them as much as we can. Okay, and they've played Sylvan Scrying. Okay, Power Plant is the reveal. Yeah, so I think we're just going to Mystic Sanctuary that Exhaustion. And then draw it. Might as well play the Misty. And then next turn we can either Jace plus Exhaustion, or we can Uro plus Exhaustion. I think Jace plus Exhaustion is probably better. So let's put that Exhaustion on top. Okay, the opponent has been really tired for a really long time. Maybe they just need a nap. All right, so cards we're looking to draw are Walk the Aeons and Time Warp. Cryptic Command is also fine. This is too many lands though, so don't think it really matters what lands we're putting back. So they could just naturally draw into the last Tron land. I believe they revealed Power Plant. So they probably don't have tower, but they could just have a tower. All right, that's not a tower. Yeah, I think it's worth just putting the Exhaustion on top. This is going to be our last Mystic Sanctuary. Where is it? There it is. Our last one in the deck. But it's definitely worth fetching because we know that we have 2 lands on top and we just don't want to draw that. So, yeah. I guess first let's plus Wrenn and Six, and then let's Jace and see if we draw anything cool. I guess I should have done that in the other order so we could get the Ketria Triome. Whatever. So we don't need those. Play a land. Exhaust the opponent. All right, so next turn we get to ultimate Wrenn and Six and then keep the opponent just tired forever. And I think I would rather hold up Cryptic Command than get back Uro, since Uro would eat either the fetch land or the Exhaustion. Actually, I think the best thing to do right now is let them crack their Expedition map if they want to. And then, all right, cool. So they're almost certainly just going to find the tower. And then the sweet play that we've got is, I think, first fetch. So we don't really want the lands on top. Yeah, we don't want the lands on top. And then we're just going to bounce return target permanent. Yeah, return target permanent to its owner's hand and draw a card. So now the opponent can't even assemble Tron next turn, since even though they have both Tron lands, they're only going to be playing 1 land. Yeah, neat. And then we'll be able to, we'll be able to ultimate this and then keep exhausting and Cryptic Commanding the opponent. So they've given up. So our sideboard isn't amazing for Tron. Certainly the lightning bolts are bad, so those can come out. Really the only thing they do is hit a Karn that's -3'd. But if your opponent's -3ing a Karn, then it's probably not worth trying to salvage that game. It's probably better to just try to stop the opponent from assembling Tron in the first place. And the ways to do that are Force of Negation to stop Sylvan Scrying and Expedition Map. Abrade is okay against Little Karn, you know, the one that searches for artifacts. It's also okay against an expedition map on anything but turn 1, and it's also okay against Oblivion Stone. And then Ashiok is not very good, but it's another blue card for Force of Negation, and it can stop late expedition maps or Sylvan Scryings, and it also stops Sanctum of Ugin. So it does more than Lightning Bolt, but I wouldn't call Ashiok good in the matchup, so we don't really want to bring in both. Yeah, we'll run it like that. Okay, here we are for game 2. Our opponent is going first. If we had a fetch land instead of one of these Serum Visions, this would be excellent, but nope. Oh, that's rough. So this is definitely way too many lands. Our opponent has also mulled to 6, by the way. They might be doing more, or they might stop here. Yeah, they've put 1 card back. They're at 6. So the thing that's rough here is we have so many lands that we just can't really interact at all. We just don't really have cards until turn 4. But the Serum Visions could draw us into something. And the fact that we have lands means if the opponent has a not completely functional hand, then we'll be able to still do stuff. So I think I'm going to keep this and put the Sanctuary to the bottom. It's certainly not great, though. I'm certainly not happy about this keep. All right, there's a mine and a map from the opponent. Yeah, so if he had a Force of Negation, I would snap off the Force of Negation here, but we don't, so I can't. And there's another land. So I'm just going to get Steam Vents here and shock it in so that if we get Wrenn and Six, we'll be able to play it. Force of Negation. I think I have to put that on top. It'll basically stop a potential turn 3 Karn, but I'm not happy about this. The annoying part also is that because we're on the draw and we didn't have a Gemstone Caverns, we're going to need to exile with the Force of Negation rather than just paying its mana cost. So we're probably losing the Cryptic Command, so that will at least have a threat. And then if somehow the opponent's hand is non-functional after their first threat, like let's say their hand is just big Karn and then nothing else, just a bunch of blanks, then we can at least kill them with Uro. But yeah, this isn't going to be pretty. All right. No thank you to Karn. So yeah, we basically need the opponent to just not have anything else for the rest of the game, which is definitely a tall order. I'll just go ahead and get Ketria Triome here. I don't think it really matters what land I play. Oops. It does matter how I tap, though. All right, well, Cryptic Command is cool, but we can't exactly use it just yet. Our shields are very down right now. All right, this is the start of the opponent having nothing, I think. Uh-oh, Ancient Stirrings usually finds good stuff, so this is definitely bad for us. Oblivion Stone. Yeah, that's annoying. The opponent has 3 cards in hand, but the best that they had on 7 mana was an Oblivion Stone, so that feels like a sign of weakness to me. So we could bring back the Uro, but we would be out of food for it, and the opponent can... We'd be out of food for it, and the opponent can just Oblivion Stone, but because it's drawing us a card, I think that's fine, and we'll feed Uro eventually. And I think this is better than holding up Cryptic Command, because the opponent didn't have anything on 7 mana, so they just probably don't have anything relevant. And then if their play is big Ulamog, then Cryptic Command isn't going to be good enough against that anyway, since it'll be eating 2 of our lands. Well, actually, I guess we could possibly survive that. All right, yeah, maybe this was a mistake to play around Big Ulamog. Yeah, because I guess we're pretty dead to Big Ulamog now, but hopefully the opponent doesn't have that. All right, Chromatic Star from the opponent. Green mana. Another star. More green mana. Another tower, so they've got 2. All right, they just don't have anything. It seems like they're just gonna blow the Oblivion Stone then. Oh. That's weird. They decided to go to their second main phase to do that, but okay. I think I'm gonna get 1 Steam Vents here. I don't think it makes a huge difference, but whatever. I'll leave 1 fetch land uncracked in case we want to grab a Misty with it or something. Or, sorry, grab a Mystic Sanctuary with it or something. So I guess we can go shields down just to get Chandra on board. I think I'm okay with that. Again, the opponent basically showed us a sign of weakness by just not playing anything. So I think we just have to hope that their hand is garbage and then go from there. So I'm just gonna exile the top card of our library looking for Wrenn and Six. But if we get basically any castable card, I think I'm gonna cast it. Yeah, I'll cast that. Don't mind if I do. Well, there's the Wrenn and Six. Okay. So Walk the Aeons is pretty sweet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't think we want Exhaustion. Opponent's got like a bajillion mana, but I do think we want the Walk the Aeons. Oh, there's another Oblivion Stone. Darn. Ooh, a Ghost Quarter from the opponent. That's interesting. All right, and they just blow the Oblivion Stone. And then are they going to Ghost Quarter to ruin our scry? They do not. So I think now I'm just gonna Wrenn and Six, get a land, and hold up Cryptic Command. And I think that's gonna be better than trying to go like Growth Spiral and then Uro. Since this sets up for a loop of Walk the Aeons next turn, and protecting ourselves with Cryptic means that we're dead to the fewest number of things. I think basically just Big Ulamog does it, but hopefully the opponent won't have that. There's a forest and a pass, so that's good for us. I'll go ahead and Growth Spiral at their end step. Cool, put another land into play. Yeah, this is looking pretty good. Ooh, Lonely Sandbar. That's neat. So one thing that the opponent could have is Warping Whale, but I think I'm just not going to play around that. So here we go. Basically, if they do have Warping Whale, we just get to try again next turn. So one interesting thing is the Ghost Quarter. Oh no, this isn't Field of Ruin. Okay, so we don't need to shuffle. That's great. All right, I'm talking about things that don't matter then. In that case, cancel that. We'll grab a Mystic Sanctuary, and then we'll cycle the Lonely Sandbar. And whether or not the opponent uses that Ghost Quarter, we will cycle the Lonely Sandbar and then pick it back up with Wrenn and Six. Let's just leave this over there for now. Pick that back up. So we will Walk the Aeons ourselves. Grab a Mystic Sanctuary to put Walk the Aeons on top. I guess technically we were vulnerable to a surgical extraction there, so maybe I should have just played the fetch land first, but whatever. And then I'll shock on this breeding pool, cast Uro, play the Misty, and then I think I would rather leave the Misty uncracked than cycle the Lonely Sandbar now. So, yep. Cool. So we'll just go ahead and get a land. I think at this point we are deterministic. I suppose I'll just leave a Cryptic Command in case the opponent was sandbagging something, but we still have I guess I'm even leaving up Cryptic if I cycle this, so okay. Doesn't really matter what we do here anymore. Guess I'll just play Uro. I guess that was also unnecessary. Okay, we'll eat Growth Spiral, Chandra, Uro, and 2 lands. Sure, leaving Serum Visions, that sounds fine. Okay, there we go, we're good. All right, so now we're just gonna ultimate Wrenn and Six and just cast Walk the Aeons every single turn of the game. I mean, this isn't even strictly necessary, but you know, whatever. Sure, I'll just go ahead and play this, and then instead of cycling the Lonely Sandbar, what if it was a Time Walk? All right, well, I don't know why they haven't conceded yet. The opponent's dead, and don't know if they know it. Cool, I'll see you for the next match. Okay, here we are for match 3. We've won the die roll. Our opponent has been on apparently several different modern decks recently. Either Scapeshift or Jund Death Shadow looks likely. I think I'm happy with this hand against either of those decks. I think I'll lead with Triome since it's unclear what we're playing against, and also unclear exactly what we're looking for. We also wouldn't be able to play a turn 2 Wrenn and Six with these lands anyway, so I think it's fine to just keep this hand. Gemstone in the opener when you're going first is a little bit awkward, but luckily we'll have plenty of colored sources between the Ketria Triome and this Scalding Tarn, so we shouldn't really have trouble casting our spells. One thing that is a little bit annoying is this doesn't escape Uro at all, but we'll deal with it. Okay, there's our Triome, and the opponent is gonna do what? Apparently wait at their upkeep for a little bit, and Flooded Strand. Let's take a quick look. Does their Scapeshift list run Flooded Strand? It does not. So what are they on? Who knows? I guess I'll fetch a Steam Vents here so that we'll have double red for Chandra, and then use the Steam Vents to cast Serum Visions. That way we can also Lonely Sandbar, and because we're going to use our fetch land, it won't ruin our scry. All right, Wrenn and Six seems solid. I think Lightning Bolt is probably not good against most Flooded Strand decks, but I think I'm going to leave it on top anyway. Actually, no. Sorry, what I was going to say is that we're going to next turn cast Wrenn and Six, grab the Scalding Tarn, and then fetch it away. But Wrenn and Six could get countered pretty easily against a Flooded Strand deck, and B, because we're probably gonna... Oh, we drew a Serum Visions. All right, yeah. Bolt is going by. We'll top that, and just go ahead and draw that Wrenn and Six. Hollowed Fountain. The opponent might be on blue-white control, so I might need to start playing a little bit faster. Okay, if our opponent is on blue-white control, then I think both of these cards are pretty good. So I think I will top Polluted Delta and then Uro. Yeah, next turn we can either play Uro off the Gemstone Cavern, or we can play Wrenn and Six, whatever feels like it makes the most sense. I feel like it would be great to resolve a Wrenn and Six, but the opponent could easily have like a mana leak or something. Yeah, I think I'll just play Uro and try to play Wrenn and Six when the opponent is more shields down. If Uro gets countered, I think that's not a huge deal. Growth Spiral, okay. Guess we're both ramping. All right, so the opponent is on some kind of Bant nonsense. All right, there's a Polluted Delta. So I think I want to get a breeding pool off of this Delta, and then, ooh, what's this? Teferi. Yeah, I think it's worth spending the Force of Negation here, and the Cryptic Command, I guess. Well, actually, first I'm gonna cycle Lonely Sandbar. So like I said, I'm getting breeding pool here, so that we'll have double green to escape Uro. We just need another blue source. And then cycling this just to see if we hit a blue card. I feel like I would actually rather have Cryptic in hand than Time Warp, so feels a little weird to say that, but yeah. Just go ahead and force that. Okay, I feel like this is pretty likely to resolve now. Sweet. Let's get that Polluted Delta. And now we're also holding up hardcast Force of Negation here, so that's pretty good. And then next turn we can also just escape Uro. So things are looking pretty good. Opponent does have 6 cards in hand though, that is kind of a lot. And they're hurting themselves. And what is this? Hour of Promise. I don't know what's gonna happen if we let that resolve, but I don't think we want to know, so... yeah, I think I'll just get a basic, and we'll just hardcast this. So I guess one thing that I could have done is I could have fetched a Mystic Sanctuary to put Force of Negation back on top. So I don't really know what the opponent's doing, so I think I'm gonna play a little bit cowardly, and instead of casting Uro, I'm just gonna hold up Cryptic Command. Field of the Dead. Let's see. You control 7 or more lands with different names. Alright, I think I'll fire this off. Let's see. So I'll return a permanent to its owner's hand. Actually, I guess I can do this with more protection if I... Basically, I don't want my opponent getting a bunch of zombies, but I also don't really want to tap down low right now because the opponent could, like... if they bounce Wrenn and Six, it's actually not a big deal. Alright, return target permanent to its owner's hand and draw a card. So I don't really know what's going to happen here. Opponent could easily have any of a number of things. You know, a counterspell or... Ooh, Snapcaster Mage. For Growth Spiral? Interesting. So that they get to make a zombie? That's pretty cool. Oh man, they get to make 2 zombies. That's very cool. Alright, well, opponent's deck is very cool. Do I want to put anything on top? I guess I'll put a Force of Negation on top. Yeah, sure. All right, so now we can Uro, leaving, I guess, Cryptic and Lonely Sandbar in the yard. Oh, did I miscount? 3, 4. Guess we have to get rid of the Cryptic in the yard then. Or is that too important? Should I get rid of the Lonely Sandbar? Or, I know, I'll just fetch now and get rid of one of the fetch lands. Getting rid of those cards. Now, if we draw a blue card, then we'll have Force of Negation plus Cryptic up. Otherwise, oh, Path? That's annoying. Do we force that? I don't think so. Let's try to draw a blue card. That's not it. I suppose I could have put the Cryptic on top to have a guaranteed blue card. That would have been smart. Yeah, because now if the opponent has a counter spell, they'll be able to kill Wrenn and Six, which is actually kind of annoying. Yeah, okay, I played this part a bit poorly. Yeah, definitely played this poorly. So I think I'm gonna put Cryptic on top now. And then at the opponent's upkeep, try to tap their creatures to save our Wrenn and Six. Okay. Okay, that's pretty sweet. Let's see, so it looks like we are 1 short of Chandra plus Cryptic plus Force of Negation. So I think I'll skip playing Chandra this turn so that we'll have Cryptic plus Force up. So we'll just try to tap the opponent's team at their upkeep again. And we're going to try to ultimate our Wrenn and Six. Ooh, okay, that's pretty sweet. Yep, opponent's got zombies. Do I cycle this Lonely Sandbar? I think the answer is no. Actually, I don't think it makes a huge difference. Yeah, I think we're gonna not cycle it so that, does it make a difference? I'm not sure, we're a little bit low on time. I'm just gonna not cycle it so that we have something to discard to a Wrenn and Six emblem, but I don't think it makes a huge difference, yeah. So we'll just make that emblem and walk those Aeons. We've got Force of Negation up or other thing. Yeah, okay. Now I think we're golden. Because now we just do this. And yeah, now we get to just every turn cast a Walk the Aeons. So, Bant Field of the Dead, huh? To be honest, I have not played against this deck literally ever. So I don't exactly know what to do here. Given that they played Hour of Promise, I think Ashiok is probably good. It feels like Bolt is not a winner here. And then I think Force is going to be good. I think Veil's going to be good. And I feel like having a way to clean up just, you know, random creatures. Maybe they're playing Stoneforge Mystic. We saw Snapcaster Mage, maybe they have Ice Fang Kotal. I feel like just having a way to clean things up is going to be helpful. And then do we get rid of the last bolt? I mean, I guess. Then I'll also trim, I guess, at least one Time Warp. What else to trim? Guess I'm comfortable trimming one more Time Warp. Let's see. Do we want Bonecrusher Giant? I don't think so. Do we want Aether Gust? I also don't think so. Yeah, I am very not confident in this sideboard, given that I just don't know what the opponent's deck looks like, but we'll try it like that. Okay, here we are for game 2. We are going second. I think this hand is fine. Yeah, Growth Spiral is nice. Force of Negation is also nice. I think probably turn 1 we're going to play Ketria Triome, and then turn 2 we're going to go Forest, Growth Spiral, play the Flooded Strand, probably grab a Steam Vents for double red, and then cycle Lonely Sandbar, and we'll figure it out from there. This looks like our foil force, which means this is our sideboarded copy, so we'll see how much that affects the game. We'll see if a bolt would have been better, I guess. Let's see, so the opponent leads on a tapped Temple Garden. Ooh. Okay, does that change my mind about things? I think I can go Ketria Triome on turn 1 and then fetch a Steam Vents on 2, so yeah. Yeah, that seems good. So one rule of thumb that I have is I like to just jam, because generally you have more threats than the opponent has answers. So the opponent could have a counterspell here, but I am just going to cast Wrenn and Six anyway. Like, we still have Uro as backup, and then we also just have Force of Negation if the opponent decides to like cast a Teferi or something on their turn. Donovan's Veto. Yeah, okay. Field of the Dead. It's interesting that they're playing it this early. The fact that they don't have double blue right now means that they won't be able to Cryptic next turn, which is one thing. I'm just gonna jam Uro, I think. All right, they are Growth Spiraling. And do they have a Mystical Dispute? It looks like they do. Oh, looks like they don't. Either one of these lands is going to come into play tapped. I think I'll just play the Mystic Sanctuary so that future Mystic Sanctuaries will come in untapped. Also, then we'll have the Lonely Island in hand so that we can cycle it if we want to. That does add another card in the graveyard for Uro, which is great. So that might be what we end up doing at some point. What's this? Jace? I think this Growth Spiral is going to be bad, so one thing that's unfortunate is this looks like a Veil of Summer, yeah, which means we got to go deep with countering this. The other thing that's a little unfortunate here is there's only 4 other cards in the graveyard besides Uro, so I think let's cycle this and see what happens. If we get a... Okay, there's another Uro. I think I would rather be making land drops, so... as opposed to playing the other Uro. One thing that's a little scary is the opponent is almost at Field of the Dead. There's the Guru Island plus Snow Covered Island, so they'll have different names. Kind of cool functional difference there. Mystic Sanctuary, huh? So we could just get Force of Negation, but because the opponent is about to start, they're about to start making zombies, I kind of just want to start doing things. So what does that mean? basically, like, the trying to be safe play is you put the Force of Negation on top, and then you cast the Uro so that we have Force up, and we'll be able to, the following turn, cast an Uro with Force of Negation in hand. But I think that play just loses to opponent making a bunch of zombies. Like, if they just play a fetch land next turn, then we're just in a lot of trouble. So I'm just gonna grab the fetch land, fetch something, and then escape Uro. This definitely could be wrong. It maybe is better to play patient, but that the Field of the Dead is just making me a little antsy. Oh, I guess hold on. If I want to keep a fetch land in the graveyard, I need to cast this Uro and then play the Mystic Sanctuary, not put anything. Yeah. All right, then we'll have green, green, blue, blue. All right. Yeah, so the opponent has 2 cards in hand. I'm basically playing as if those are 2 blanks. Like, I'm just going to assume those are 2 lands for now. All right, so we have a Force of Negation in hand. So does that change the way that I feel about anything? Not especially. I think I still just want to keep jamming. So now I'm going to leave Flooded Strand in the graveyard so that we can continue grabbing it with Wrenn and Six. Or actually, do I want to put Lonely Sandbar? I think I'd rather have Lonely Sandbar now that I'm thinking about it. So let's, oh my goodness. All right, so let's do that. Please resolve. Oh no. Okay, so they played Growth Spiral but didn't play a land, which signifies that they have 2 spells in hand. Apparently one of which was Growth Spiral, and I really hope they didn't draw anything good. Oh, they drew something good. Bummer. I suppose Uro is worth topping. It's probably better than a random card. Also, I'm running a little low on time, so I might be doing a little less thinking and a little more action. All right, there's a zombie. Opponent only has 1 card in hand, so that's at least good. I think I'm going to start by cycling the Loneliest of Sandbars and see where we get. So I'm just going to leave that popped out so that it just stays where it needs to stay. Guess I shouldn't technically F6 since I have Force of Negation in hand, but just want to be aware of the clock. We're at 9:30 right now. Right, opponent is hitting Wrenn and Six. Okay. All right. Let's see what Jace finds us. First of all, if he resolves. Let's cast our own Cryptic Command. I guess they do get to draw a card. Okay. Let's see. I think we can do this. All right. And then if the opponent doesn't have a Growth Spiral here, which they don't, yeah, they don't have another zombie, which means Jace is going to live a little bit. Okay. So they're getting more zombies. So do we want to draw the other Jace? I think we'd rather draw fresh cards. So I think I'm gonna just get an island here. Cycle the Loneliest Sandbar. And then play a Growth Spiral. All right, just gonna take some game actions. Let's see. Ashiok doesn't really help here, but given that we have Wrenn and Six, I think it's better to just get rid of the lands. Although, yeah, okay, so we get to draw a fetch land this way, and then... Oh wait, I put the Misty... Oh my goodness. Alright, well, whatever. Need to pay more attention. Shoot. I'll crack this for a forest. I'm gonna leave the Lonely Sandbar in the yard again. Yeah, I'm not playing this very cleanly. All right, they're Mystic Sanctuarying Cryptic Command, okay. I'll go ahead and counter that. Oh no, they have a Force of Negation as their next card. Brutal. Oh man, that's really bad for us. So now they get their choice of which Planeswalker to kill. And they have a Cryptic in hand. Yeah, and... Let's see. And they're putting a Cryptic on top. Can we win this? Let's see. I'm not sure how we win this given that Cryptic Command is their card in hand. I guess if we get a Force of Negation off of this, then that works. Nope. Yeah, I don't think we can beat this army of zombies plus a Cryptic Command plus another Cryptic Command, so rough. Okay, do I want to change anything? I feel like Gemstone on the play is not going to be doing it, and just trying to cast a Time Warp earlier I think is fine. All right, here we are for game 3. We're going first. Yeah, this hand seems great. I think turn 1 is going to be Steam Vents, look for Wrenn and Six, and then turn 2, we'll figure it out. Opponent is also on 7. Speaking of 7, we're on 7 minutes. All right, there's the Steam Vents, and what do we got? Cryptic Command, I think, is worth. Land is not worth. Oh wait, we already have Cryptic Command in hand. Double Cryptic still seems fine. Okay, so I think I'm gonna fetch a Ketria Triome first. The reason being just to fix our mana, and also so then the fetch land won't ruin our scry. We're basically only punished for this by drawing exactly Serum Visions, I guess, or Lonely Sandbar. Oh, are they gonna counter this? Okay. All right. I see how it is. I see how it is. Field of the Dead from the opponent. We have a Growth Spiral. I think I'm going to Growth Spiral at the opponent's upkeep. Just see if they want to counter this. Oh man, I should have Growth Spiraled on our turn. I didn't think about drawing Wrenn and Six. That was foolish. And I'm just going to get another Ketria Triome, just fix our mana best. I guess I'll wait a turn on Wrenn and Six and have Cryptic Command up. Actually, I think I'm gonna try to bounce Fields of the Dead now, since if they do anything about this, then they won't have Jace mana, and if they don't do anything about this, then, you know, oh my god, Veil of Summer, brutal. That sucks, and we don't even get to draw a card. Yeah, I guess that's how we get punished. Teferi. That's certainly annoying. Please minus. Oh, yes. All right, please don't have Force of Negation. Oh, yes. And then I think I will fetch now so that if we need to cast Cryptic, then this Mystic Sanctuary won't be messing anything up. Let's see, and I think this time I will not be as aggressive going after the opponent's lands and stuff. They have 7 cards in hand, so. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna chill for a little bit at least. See if the opponent taps low for anything, and if not, I think we're gonna try to get to 10 mana for Walk plus Cryptic, so that's gonna be in 3 turns. I guess the opponent is gonna have, oh, field. The opponent's gonna have zombies by then. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's fine. All right, we're at the 5-minute mark. Opponent's gonna start getting zombies, so yeah, we are under pressure. Opponent's gonna get a lot of zombies. I think I'm gonna put a growth spiral on top, which feels weird. Growth Spiral is just not generally a card that you want to be putting on top of your deck at this stage in the game. All right, so I think I'm going to let the opponent get a bunch of... Ooh. Oh, they're getting Veil of Summer. Okay, well that's good to know. I think I'm just going to try to tap their team at their upkeep. I think... Oh, this is going to be a little painful. I think I'm just going to go all in. Oh, that's interesting. So I guess in case the opponent has another Veil, I'm just going to let this Force of Negation resolve. Then I'm going to tap draw here. All right. Well. Let's keep Wrenn and Six alive for a turn, I guess. Chandra, interesting. Okay, they're putting Force of Negation on top. That's not good. Growth Spiral, huh? Let's see. So I think I'll first do this and see what we hit. Jace, huh? Not good enough. And then we'll put Cryptic on top, draw into it, and then cast it at the opponent's upkeep. Oops. Tap draw. All right, got nothing else. Brutal. Okay, so I guess the question is, which planeswalker are they killing? Oh, shoot. I didn't notice our life total was so low. All right, I'll see you for the next match. Okay, here we are for match 4. We've won the die roll. Our opponent does not have a modern thing since early February, so not going to read too much into that. This hand is not very good because it doesn't have enough lands in it. If it had more lands, then these growth spirals would be great, but as it stands, I don't think this is a capable hand. It would be also if we knew that Force of Negation was good. Oh man, this is rough. So we have our Wrenn and Six, but we are 2 colored sources away from casting it. Oh man, I don't think this hand is capable either. All right, well, I guess we're keeping this and putting back Time Warp and Exhaustion and hopefully getting there with these 5 cards. So I guess I'll get a breeding pool to start. That way we're just most likely to be able to cast Uro. One important thing to note is that because there's only 1 breeding pool in the list, oh my god, we can't even cast Growth Spiral if we put the mountain on top. I mean, I think we need the mountain though, since we need lands. Oh my god, this is just all kinds of awful. What was I saying? Right, because we only have 1 breeding pool in the list, it means that, yeah, this is fine. They can take either Inquisition or Uro. It means that our fetch lands now don't get green, so getting double green to escape Uro is going to be a little more difficult. We basically need either Ketria Triome or Basic Forest. We would also like to draw an untapped land next turn into hopefully another land for Jace. Okay, so opponent looks like a Jund style deck. Oh, that is not good. Oh, that is not good. For being a 28 land deck, it's kind of incredible that in 3 mulligans we didn't get above 2 lands. Let's see what the opponent's up to. Yeah, so it looks like the opponent is just Jund. It's probably a Liliana, and nope, it's a Wrenn and Six. Okay. Well, if we draw untapped land off of Uro into another land, then we can potentially Jace and just bounce the Tarmogoyf. All right, that's step 1. All right, I guess now we need a blue source. I mean, that's a blue source. We have a chance. I'm not saying it's a good chance, but we have a chance. I guess the other thing that's kind of rough is Bloodbraid Elf or Lightning Bolt would also take care of Jace, so maybe it's better to just escape Uro. I guess that also shrinks the Goyf, which is kind of cool. So I guess, what do we need to do that? We need like fetch land, and then we go Time Warp, and then we'll be able to escape the Uro after that. I mean, that sounds like a plan to me. Yeah, and with this Bloodbraid Elf, Jace can't even stick around no matter what we do. Cool, nice cascade. All right, so I guess we just want to draw an untapped land then. That's an untapped land. What I meant to say though is we want to draw a fetch land, because then we would be able to keep this Time Warp in hand instead of spending another turn Time Warping and then eating the Time Warp. All right, there's our fetch land. Does it make any sense to put a Time Warp on top? I don't think so. So I suppose I'll just fetch a whatever. All right, well, opponent has 5 cards in hand, so I still wouldn't say this is looking good for us, but I mean, we've got a chance. If the opponent somehow doesn't have a removal spell for Uro, then we're actually in great shape, but I have to imagine they've got either Abrupt Decay or Assassin's Trophy. Oh, or Fatal Push, yeah, that counts too. Rough. Oh man, and that really grew the Goyf again. Let's see, so we're taking 7 here. Yeah, this is not good. So this is looking pretty lethal. All right, an opponent minused. So I have a feeling like they might have Lightning Bolt in hand and they're trying to bait cracking the Polluted Delta to kill us. Okay, so one of my plans was going to be to Jace bounce a Goyf. Okay, I guess we need to Serum. Let's see what we can find. Force of Negation. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, this is not good enough. All right, so I guess we can fetch and put the Time Warp on top, and then if the opponent has a Bolt, then we're just dead. All right, so I guess technically we do this. And now we need to draw exactly, oh no, even if we draw Exhaustion, we're still dead, but I'll cast this anyway, just see what we draw. All right, yeah, that was rough. Certainly having 2 more cards would have been great. So Jund. Veil of Summer is great. Lightning Bolt is not great. And I like having 2 Aether Gusts, and I'm fine with having 2 Bonecrusher Giants, just to pressure Liliana. And then I'm not a huge fan of Force of Negation here. Just, you don't want to be spending 2 cards to answer one of your opponent's cards. It is kind of an issue if they play Choke or Boil, but we have Aether Gust for that. Let's see, any other cuts? Yeah, I think this is fine. Let's run it like that. Okay, here we are for game 2. We are going first. This hand's not great, but my rule of thumb against Thoughtseize decks is your hands don't get better by mulliganing, so I'm just gonna go ahead and keep it. Like, if your goal is to have a good hand, so you mulligan and your opponent just casts a Thoughtseize, chances are your 6-card hand is going to be just worse than your 7-card hand. But our opponent has not cast a Thoughtseize, so we'll just go ahead and get a Ketria Triome. Very important to get a red source here for Chandra. I guess I'll leave up Aether Gust. We get punished here if we draw Uro, I guess. Right, cycling a Baron more. Yeah, I feel like the opponent's going to go for a Wrenn and Six, so having this Aether Gust is going to be helpful. Scavenging Ooze. Yeah, I'll still do it. Okay, and what do we draw? So we could cast Exhaustion this turn to try to cast Chandra on an empty board if we draw an untapped land. I don't hate that. Yeah, it's a bit of a risk, but I think it's worth a shot. We do have a lot of untapped lands in the deck, so it's not the worst thing ever. They had put Scavenging Ooze on top. It's, I guess, should have thought about that before Exhaustioning, but it does seem like this is going to mess up their play. They didn't have a Thoughtseize on 1, so they're probably not going to have a Thoughtseize now. Yeah, let's draw that untapped land. Untapped land. Nice. So we definitely just want to get some kind of island so that Mystic Sanctuary will be functional. I'll just go ahead and get a basic. I don't think it makes a huge difference. And then I don't think it really matters too much. Just exiling a card. The thing that would be a bummer is exiling a Mystic Sanctuary, but luckily we didn't. And I think it's worth just not having 1 Wrenn and 6 in the deck to deal 2 to the opponent here. All right, now don't destroy Chandra, please. All right, their Inquisition misses. That was probably their draw, so that's good for us. Interesting. Guess I'll discard the Time Warp. Okay. So this is kind of cool. We can Mystic Sanctuary to put Time Warp back on top. I guess this is pretty soft to Surgical Extraction, but luckily they didn't have it. Then we get to cast our Time Warp. Cool. Guess I'll try it again. Hopefully draw something better than a Gemstone Caverns this time. I mean, I guess that counts. Go ahead and exile the top, see what we hit. Flooded Strand. Yeah, really wishing we were drawing the fetch lands instead of exiling them. I think we'll go one more time. Yeah, these cards are in the wrong order. I mean, I think I'm gonna... Okay. Well, I think the opponent's gonna give up. It's kind of funny because ultimating Chandra here is not necessarily good enough to win. Like, we don't have a single spell in hand. But I think I would have gone for Mystic Sanctuary, put the Time Warp on top, Chandra plus. That way we'll have Chandra on board after ultimating, and we would also get to draw another card. But anyway. Any changes for game 3? Kind of want to cut a Time Warp. Nah, actually I think this is fine. Okay, here we are for game 3. This hand's not great, but I don't think you try to beat Thoughtseize by mulliganing, so we're probably gonna play a Triome and then play a land, and then we were gonna try to cast Wrenn and Six, but it is not meant to be. All right, opponent did not mulligan. I saw a 5 and I was like, oh, they mulled once, but it's because they already played their Inquisition. All right, Uro is a good draw. So I think next turn we're probably just going to play the Mystic Sanctuary, and then the turn after that we'll be able to play a land and then Uro, and then the turn after that we'll be able to play a land and then Time Warp. Cruxa, huh? I mean, I guess I discard a Mystic Sanctuary here. It's a little bit soft to Surgical Extraction, but the opponent didn't show us that last game, so I don't think I'm going to play around it. Ooh. Let's see, the advantage to sandbarring now would be if we get a Serum Visions. The advantage to not sandbarring now is we're more insulated from discard effects, so I'm going to choose not to do it now. And then next turn we'll be able to go land Uro, and then if we need another mana source, we can play the Lonely Sandbar. Well, actually, no, I think I'm going to cycle the Lonely Sandbar no matter what. Getting another card in the graveyard for Uro is going to be helpful. Uh-oh. Nihil Spellbomb. I take back what I said about getting another card in the graveyard for Uro. But I still think we kind of just want to draw a card and see if we can just draw something good. So that does not count as something good. Neither does that. I mean, I'm going to just cast Uro anyway so that we can set up for Time Warp next turn, but the fact that our opponent has Spellbomb is just not good for us. All right, Jace is sweet. Yep, there goes Uro. All right, opponent has 4 cards in hand. It'd be cool if they draw Inquisition of Kozilek. I would be pretty happy if they cast that spell. That's unfortunate. I think the opponent has a Bloodbraid Elf. Yeah, that's not good for us. Well, there's that Inquisition I wanted. All right, we're going down to 16. Opponent has 3 cards in hand, so one option is we could Jace plus and then it theoretically survives Bloodbraid Elf, but if the opponent has any of like Assassin's Trophy, Maelstrom Pulse, Lightning Bolt, another Bloodbraid Elf, then Jace just dies for no value. So I think instead I'm just gonna cycle this Time Warp and see what we draw into. Uro, okay. Yeah, I think I like that. I think I like that better than casting Jace. All right, I'm gonna Lonely Sandbar now with the reason. Oh, wait a second. Do we just cast Jace now? I don't think so, for the same reason that if we plus, it theoretically survives, but Jace would die to so many things. Anyway, I'm gonna cycle now in case we draw Wrenn and Six, which we don't, but there's still a chance to draw Wrenn and Six. That's not it. Oh my god. Well, I think I'm gonna double bottom, but I also think it's not gonna matter since I'm probably just gonna fetch on this Polluted Delta anyway. So we are kind of close to Jace plus, uh-oh, what's this? Oh, Croxa. I think I'm gonna discard the land. And then if we draw an untapped land, we have Jace plus Uro, which is pretty sweet. Ooh. Alternatively, maybe we have Jace plus Exhaustion. I think I like that better. So we Jace, we minus on Croxa, and then we Exhaustion, and then the opponent needs to have exactly Red Source Lightning Bolt, but they haven't played a land, so they probably don't have that. Love it. Also, graveyard. Stop moving around. You just stay put. So how many lands do we have? We have 7 lands. All right, Jace be living. I like that. Ooh, I like that. So I think we Polluted Delta, grab Mystic Sanctuary, put Time Warp on top, Jace 0, draw Time Warp, and then see what else happens. Certainly not the best cards to draw, but whatever, I'll take it. Next turn we're going to get to Uro plus Time Warp, so very happy about that. Huh. Did we discard a Mystic Sanctuary at some point? I guess we did. Oh yeah, I think it's in exile. All right, that's a little rough. So there will be no more Mystic Sanctuaries after this, but let's see here. So we'll get to go. Yeah, we won't be able to cast either of these, but that's fine. Okay, let's see. So we can get rid of Delta, Delta, Exhaustion, Serum. So this. All right, I guess I'll get rid of the forest. Okay. So I think we'll start with Serum Visions. We're just trying to dig deep to, I guess, another Time Warp. Oh, this is just all kinds of excellent. Let's see here. So I think now we get to attack with Uro. Don't play a land, that's fine. Take an extra turn. Oh yeah, the opponent's just dead. Did I not even Jace? Did I mention that the opponent's dead? The opponent's dead. All right, well, that card is good to know about. The fact that the opponent has that Ashiok means we're going to want to... oh, that was game 3. Okay, I'll see you for the next match. Okay, here we are for the 5th and final match. Our opponent is apparently a Fire Hydrant, and has been playing apparently several different decks in Modern, so not going to read too much into that. But this hand looks like a turn 1 Wrenn and Six since we are on the draw. I think we just get rid of either a fetch land or the Steam Vents. I'm not sure which, but this is going to be a keep. Opponent has multi-6. So the argument to get rid of the Steam Vents is that more fetch lands means we can escape an Uro more easily. The argument for a fetch land is we're going to be getting a bunch of fetch lands with Wrenn and Six. I think I'll get rid of the Steam Vents. Snow Plains from the opponent. What? Interesting. Opponent is on Soul Sisters, apparently. I think Wrenn and Six's minus is going to be good here. So I'll just go ahead and get a Steam Vents here. Being lucky with Gemstone Caverns is just such a great feeling. And I feel pretty good about where we're at. Martyr of Sands. Well, that's annoying. Opponent only has 3 cards in hand, though, so... Let's see. Now, do we minus and just make them Martyr now, or do we plus? I think we just plus. Let's see. So it's 3 times X life. So let's say they go draw... I forgot the name of the 1/1 that turns into a 6/6, but let's say they draw that. And then that means they would need to have 4 cards in hand, 4 white cards to get to 32, which is above 30. Then they would play the 6/6. Then we can bolt their face, bringing them to 29, and then zap the 6/6. So I think that means we just plus. Okay, so they did not activate the Martyr. Interesting. Let's see what they do then. I think they probably should have attacked first, but they're going to 29. And there's a Soul Sister. And there's Serra Ascendant. So I guess we can zap the Soul Warden and then with our Lightning Bolt, and then minus Wrenn and Six on the Soul Warden, and then we're in just an insane position. And I suppose we should probably Growth Spiral first. So I'll just go ahead and do that. Yeah, I feel like this just can't go wrong. Sure, just go ahead and get a Triome. All right, yeah. I would give up if I were the opponent as well. Yeah, we're gonna just shoot this thing down. We can put the bolt on top and then time warp ourselves, and then start looping time warps. That's, yeah, we were in just such good shape. Okay, so Soul Sisters. I don't know what recent Soul Sisters lists look like, but I assume that these cards are going to be very good. And then I don't think Force of Negation is very good. And typically when I bring in all these red cards, Growth Spiral is the cut. Mostly like Growth Spiral kind of tries to accelerate you into your time warps, but the red cards actually serve a similar role in that they just slow the game down, which gives you enough time to then cast your time warps. Let's see. Speaking of time warps, I think we'll get rid of one of them. And let's see, any other cards to try? This looks good. Let's try it like that. Okay, here we are for game 2. We are going second. Jace is nice, but having our only play be a turn 4 Jace sounds not where we want to be. 0 lands is also not where we want to be. Man, if we could just mix those two hands together, I feel like I would probably keep a random mix of this hand and the previous hand. Alright, well, we've got interaction, so I guess we're keeping this one. Bottoming, I think, Time Warp and Mystic Sanctuary, then we'll have a red source for Bonecrusher, and then... yeah, we won't have double red, so we might need to cycle the Lonely Sandbar looking for more red sources, but yeah, I think this is what it's got to be. All right, Sarah Ascendant. That's not good if the opponent's turn to Mishra's Bauble. What? And the opponent mulled once. All right, Bolt is good. Bolt is good. So I think we'll wait to see what the opponent does, since I don't think we necessarily need to bolt this right now. All right, I think I would like to prevent the opponent from gaining 1 life, though, so I will bolt it now. All right, there's Martyr of Sands, which is kind of annoying. Opponent has not played another land, so I think we kill this before they untap. And I think I'd like to kill it with Bonecrusher Giant. I think that just makes more sense. We can't cycle the Lonely Sandbar anyway. All right, well, the opponent does have 4 spells in hand, so that is a little bit concerning. But it looks like they can't play any of them. Land, please? Oh, well, the opponent has given up. I'm not sure that we would have actually done much. Yeah, okay, drawing Uro, I think we just want to play the Lonely Sandbar at that point, since we're just trying to draw lands. Yeah, so we weren't going to do that much for the next couple of turns, but I guess if the opponent's stuck on 1 land, they're probably doing even less than us. All right, I'll see you for the wrap-up. Okay, so we went 4-1 in the preliminary, which is great because that means now I have enough qualifier points to play in a bigger event. We beat Bant Stoneblade, we beat Mono Green Tron, we lost to a very cool Bant Field of the Dead deck, we beat Jund, and we beat Soul Sisters. So overall, that was a pretty good showing for the deck. I feel like we maybe could have beat the Bant Field of the Dead deck if I had been playing better, but part of it was I have just never seen that deck before, so I just wasn't sure, like, how much counter magic do they play? Like, do they play the Stoneforge Mystic package? Just, I didn't really know what to expect out of that deck, so it kind of hit me a little bit by surprise. We kind of started running out of time at the end, and I was just making game actions without thinking them all the way through. So certainly with more experience in that matchup, I think it could have gone differently, but, you know, still a pretty reasonable outcome overall. The games mostly played out pretty typically. You know, we had a couple of Wrenn and Six emblems, a couple Chandra emblems. We didn't see any Jace emblems, but those are a lot more rare. We got to beat our opponent's face in with Uro a little bit. Yeah, the casting a Time Warp whenever you have one of these permanents on board is just so incredibly powerful. So I think the main deck as built is a fairly well-oiled machine. Even with the absurd 28 lands, the fact that we have some Lonely Sandbars means that it's actually more like 26. The fact that we have Growth Spiral and Uro means we really just want to have those lands in hand anyway, in order to, you know, draw into our value permanents and then accelerate into a Time Warp. And even with 28 lands, we were seeing some amount of mana screw in some of those opening hands, which is, you know, it's magic, it happens. As for the sideboard, I'm pretty happy with it, except that our Tron matchup isn't great post-board. So we could maybe add a card like Alpine Moon to try to improve it. But even then, I think the cards that are good against the classic mono green Tron are just not that good against Eldrazi Tron, which is another matchup that the sideboard kind of struggles with. I think playing Alpine Moon against Eldrazi Tron is just not exactly where you want to be. Alpine Moon just doesn't really harm the Eldrazi Tron deck in the way that it does a huge amount of damage to regular Tron. You know, when you name Urza's Tower against regular Tron, they're just so far away from casting their Karn. But if you name Eldrazi Temple with your Alpine Moon, the Eldrazi Tron deck can still just play their Thought-Knot Seer on turn 4 or whatever. So I'm not sure exactly what to change about the sideboard if there's an uptick in Tron decks. But aside from that, having a great red removal spells suite for those creature decks is fantastic. Having a nice balance of kind of stack-based interaction and Veil of Summer, Aether Gust, and Force of Negation was excellent. We didn't see any prowess decks, but having 2 Weather the Storm, I feel pretty good about that. And Ashiok does Ashiok things. We didn't see any Dredge or Primeval Titan decks, so Ashiok didn't really have a chance to shine, but I think having it in the sideboard for those decks is pretty reasonable. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you for the next one.